With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
This is Cashing Out on VSiN, the sports betting network.
All right, welcome in. It's a new hour of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Monday night, right on into your Tuesday morning, depending on your time zone. And what a Monday nightcap we were treated to up in the Bay Area. The Golden State Warriors taking down the Houston Rockets, 109-106. They get the sweep in the two home games, game 3 and 4, at home in Golden State. Both wins of the comeback variety. Rockets led at halftime each of those two games. And Golden State down the stretch, too much to handle. Game 3, it was the outside shooting, right? It was Steph, it was Buddy. Game 4, it was playoff Jimmy. I mean, Jimmy Butler was an absolute heart attack in game 4. And how about the ice in his veins that he put on full display from the free throw line? Golden State Warriors, not named Jimmy Butler, were still great at the line, 8 for 10. Jimmy was 12 for 12. The Rockets went at Jimmy, and Jimmy went at the Rockets. And my goodness, for a guy who hardly played game 2, left early with that deep bruise in his pelvis, missed game 3 altogether, to come back, lead your team in minutes with 40, lead your team in points with 27, and be a one-man band down the stretch in crunch time. Jimmy Butler showed us that playoff Jimmy is a thing, always has been a thing, and cannot be killed. Playoff Jimmy is the kind of thing we're going to tell our children about one day, because this man, April hit, and this man becomes otherworldly, becomes a superhero. Steph had 17, just 2 of 8 from beyond the arc. The Rockets did a great job clamping down on him. I mean, Golden State took excellent care of the ball. They won the turnover battle, forced 13, coughed up just 8, but Steph had 4 of their 8. The Rockets did a great job defending Steph, just like Golden State did a great job taking away Houston's potentially, arguably biggest offensive threat, certainly from the outside, Jalen Green. Green had just 8 points, scoreless in the second half, 5 turnovers. So these two teams both did phenomenal jobs at taking out the opposition's best perimeter scoring threat. But other guys ate. I mean, Alperen Şengün had a game of a lifetime, 31-10. He just couldn't execute when Draymond locked him down for the potential go-ahead bucket with 4 seconds to go. Down 107-106. Şengün had it top of the key. Drove in. Draymond didn't give him the rim. Spun around. Took like a one-arm hook shot from practically the free throw line. Hit back iron. Came out. Jimmy grabbed the board. Jimmy got sent to the line. And Jimmy, with all the pressure in the world, hit 2 clutch free throws. I mean, the guy was, 5 for 5 at the charity stripe in the final minute. Goes 3 for 3, 58 seconds to go on that corner shot, which I didn't love the foul call, by the way, on Dylan Brooks. But Jimmy executed that and then hit 2 with 4 seconds to go. Rockets still had a chance to tie. Van Fleet off balance 3 wasn't to be had. And the Golden State Warriors emerge victorious, 109-106 over the Houston Rockets. What a treat that game was, huh? That was a phenomenal basketball game from start to finish. You look at these quarters, right? Golden State first quarter by 2. Houston second quarter by 9. Golden State third quarter by 9. Golden State fourth quarter by 1. Just a back and forth seesaw affair. The closest game of the 4 this series, where I was saying earlier in the program, it's kind of funny if you look at it. Every game has felt like a nail biter this series, yet the first 3 all got pulled away late, all ended up double-digit results, right? Each of the first 3 games, as close as they felt, were actually won by 10 to 15 at the end of the day. This one, appropriately so, won by 3. So the Warriors win, but the Rockets, whether you got 3.5 or 4, it didn't matter at the end of the day. The Rockets cover in this Game 4 loss. And now I've got some soul searching to do. And I've got questions that need to be answered because I've got a hedge. I had that Rockets ticket. I thought they'd get out of the first round. I don't think any team going down 3-1's coming out of the first round this year. Lakers, Pistons, Magic, Rockets. I don't think any of them are coming out from their 3-1 hole. So now I've got to start looking at Game 5 if I can get a good price on a Warriors money line play there. And if not Game 5, go back to a Game 6, which will undoubtedly be a worse price because that'll be back up in the Bay Area with a chance to clinch for Golden State. So Game 5, maybe I can get them as slight dogs. We'll see if there's a number out. It might be too early. Oh, we've got it. Wednesday. Warriors money line. Plus 136. I've got to lock that in right now. I've got to do it. I got my Rockets 27-1 ticket. I've got to make something in this series, right? Warriors plus $1.36. I'll shop around after the show. We've got till Wednesday, so it's not like I'm running out of time. I'll shop around. I'll see what the best price I could find is, and boom, I'll be taking Golden State on Wednesday. Not necessarily because I think it's the best bet, but because now with my Rockets ticket seemingly up in flames, I am at the point where I absolutely need to hedge. Let's see what the Rockets to win the conference are now. 60-1. All of a sudden, my 27-1, which, by the way, had great CLV after Game 2 when they were 18-1 after Game 2. Now my ticket up in flames. But that's the gamble we took. It was a long shot, and if I can turn it into some positive money, I will be happy. Let's take a look at the Tuesday slate in the NBA, because this was odd. We only had 2 games Monday. Now, look, there would have been 3. Would have been Game 5, OKC in Memphis, if the Thunder didn't sweep the Ja Morantless Grizzlies. But now we've got 4 games Tuesday. Indiana looking to end it, laying 7.5 against Milwaukee. The Knicks looking to end it, laying 5.5 against Detroit. Boston, 11-point favorites, looking to end it. All 3 of these home teams in the Eastern Conference up 3-1. And then the game I can't wait for. Clippers, Nuggets in Denver. I don't want to be unpopular with our listeners and our viewers out there in Colorado, so I'm sorry, guys. I don't think that buzzer beater should have counted. Now I'll say this. I also think reviewing that put the officials in a damn near impossible spot because it was such a bang-bang play. And no matter how many times and how many frames you slow that replay down to, it was so impossible to tell whether the ball had left his fingertips or not, whether it was through the cylinder or not. I mean, well, it was through the cylinder, but were his fingertips still on it when the light went red? It was such a difficult call to make. It felt like you had to count the bucket. I don't think it was good. I think the Clippers are pissed off. 3-1, 2-2, big difference. I think... And it's crazy because, you know, each team's stolen a game on the road, right? Clippers lost the first, then 1-2 in a row at Denver and at home. Denver steals Game 4. Now they're going back to Denver. You would think the Nuggets have a big advantage at altitude. I think the Clippers are better to run the floor than this Denver team, better equipped. I like LA in this spot. I wish they were dogs. I wish I was getting better value. But laying 1.5, it's practically a pick 'em. I like the Clippers in this Game 5, coming off that loss where they feel like they were robbed. They feel like they should have completed the comeback, gone up 3-1 in the series. Look, I didn't play it. I'm at the bar watching this game Saturday. I opened up to see what the live odds were. LA was plus 11.5 in the fourth quarter. They had no business being in that game. Then they make the comeback, and it felt like they should have won. So I think Kawhi and James Harden and company are a little ticked off, and they're going into Denver. And I view them as the deeper team. I view them as the more well-rounded team. Denver may have the best player in the world, certainly a top 2, top 3 player in the world. I'll call him the best. He's not the MVP this year, but I'll call him the best player in the world. But the Clippers, to me, are more well-rounded. And I think we're going to get a big game out of Kawhi. I think this is a big chance for Leonard to respond. Just like game one, where Kawhi was good, not spectacular, and he responded by being out of his mind in game two. I think this is a spot here where Kawhi responds, and you might get an out of his mind Kawhi Leonard. Game 5 in Denver. I like the Clippers laying a 1.5 here. Also, James Harden. He's gone 9+ assists 3 times this series. Gone for 11 on the nose twice. Might be a good spot to look at Harden's assist prop in this contest. Folks, the NBA and Stanley Cup playoffs are heating up. Baseball's in full swing. We're going to break it down shortly here with our MLB expert, Greg Peterson. And the Kentucky Derby is right around the corner. So don't just watch all the action. Get in on it and bet smarter with VSiN Pro. Right now, you get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $59. That saves you well over a third off the monthly price. Sign up now. You can get instant access to a daily recap of best bets from all of our hosts and guests, exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 live video and full show replays over on the VSiN Watch app, plus our Kentucky Derby betting guide that drops Wednesday, April 30th, with previews and best bets on the Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks. Every sport, every edge, one unbeatable low price. Sign up now, vsin.com/subscribe. That's vsin.com/subscribe. Going to try to bring up James Harden's assist prop here before we kick it to break, because we're going to be talking Tuesday baseball on the other side with a guy who just had his best day of the MLB season, Greg Peterson, getting ready to join us. I don't want to misspeak. I believe he's off like an 11-1 day, something absolutely psycho like that. James Harden, speaking of psychos, his assist number, 9.5. Gone 9+ 3 times, gone for 11 twice. We'll break that down later on. More Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking it over to the Progressive guest line here as we take you into your Tuesday morning. Got a loaded slate on the diamond, all 30 teams in action. Who better to break it down with than our buddy MLB expert here at VSiN, Greg Peterson, joining us. And Greg, we were having a really meaningful conversation during the break there because we were talking about the Athletics. And I was pissed Monday. I finished with a 2-2 day. I felt it should have been 3-1. JP Sears got yanked 17 outs. I needed 18. He was under 90 pitches. Hated the decision. Oakland, or I should say the Athletics, excuse me. Bullpen made it dicey, but we were talking about Mason Miller, the least dicey part of that bullpen. And his walkout song, Burn It to the Ground by Nickelback. So started talking about great baseball music and how my senior year, I was a starter and I warmed up to Hell's Bells. Greg, I got to ask you, if you're pitching, because it can differ between if you're a pitcher or a hitter. I think if you're a pitcher, you need a little more adrenaline. We see hitters kind of sometimes walk up to more poppy music. But if you're pitching, what's your warm-up song?
Oh, we're going You're Loved by the Outfield. I don't care if you're a hitter. I don't care if you're a pitcher. That is the ultimate baseball song right there. The crowd is going to get into it no matter what, because everyone at every stadium goes crazy when that song goes on. Absolutely. You're Loved by the Outfield, certified #1 walk-up song in baseball.
Oh, there is nothing. When you hear Josie's on a vacation far away, that is the best. Charlie Blackmon used that for Colorado. His entire career.
Colorado, baby.
Yeah, that is an absolute banger. We always had a guy on the team. It was a hitter, but we always had a guy who had that song as his walk-up song to the plate. By the way, that is my favorite, and I think you nailed it, great baseball song. That's my favorite batting practice song, because as a pitcher, you're shagging flies on your day off. And when that song comes on during BP, all of us, 20 of us, belting it in the outfield while we're shagging flies. It is nothing better. Let's get into this Tuesday slate, my man. A lot of good pitching matchups, a lot of good games out there. I'm going to go your choice here. Where do you want to start? What game do you have the most conviction on? And then I'll steer the ship after that.
How about if we go with the San Diego Padres as a home underdog against the San Francisco Giants? Something that I've looked at for a very long time. Logan Webb simply does not pitch the same way when he's on the road rather than at home. For his career, 1.3 points higher on his ERA when he's on the road rather than at home. And that's about a 6+ year sample size right there. And Nick Pivetta just looks reborn in San Diego. His problem when he was with Boston was that he would always give up the deep fly. He would get a lot of strikeouts. His command was relatively solid, but that Boston ballpark would always cause him to give up a lot of home runs. Well, now he's pitching in Petco. And I recognize that the Padres are dealing with a few injuries to the likes of Jackson Merrill, Luis Reyes, but I think that they're going to bounce back after they had that sweep at home over the weekend. I think that this is a good spot for them. Getting plus money, I like the Padres on the money line.
I love it, Greg. I mentioned some great pitching matchups. How about this opening day rematch? Zach Wheeler, Mackenzie Gore. This time around, it's at Citizens Bank Park. Nationals just took a 19-5 drubbing against my Mets. What do you make of this game?
Yeah, I look at that total of 8.5, and I do like it to the under. Now, the one trepidation I always have is Zach Wheeler. It always feels like that first month of the season, he's a little bit more rusty, and then he rounds into form. Now we're reaching very, very late April. I think that this is where he's going to turn the corner. And for Mackenzie Gore, if you look at his ERA, it's like a 3.3, something like that. He's got a sub-500 record, but he has pitched much better than this. North of 13 half strikeouts per 9 innings. He's not giving up the deep ball. He's really not giving up free passes either. He's really worked on that this season. Now, you obviously have a few trepidations with both of these bullpens, but being able to get an 8.5 total in this one, I think that's too high, and I think that both of these guys deal. So I'm in on the under.
Yeah, I agree with you fully on that under call. I thought 8.5 was far higher than a total I expected to come in at. The one thing that gives me trepidation, and these weather reports, you never know until it's game time what the weather really is going to be like. We're looking at potentially 80 and sunny in Philly, and sometimes when that warm weather comes in, that ball can fly at Citizens Bank Park. But I agree with you, 8.5. I expected a number closer to 7 flat than 8.5. Maybe look at a first 5 under if you don't trust these bullpens, to your terrific point about how they've both been struggling mightily. Another great pitching matchup, Garrett Crochet, Bowden Francis. Francis isn't quite looking like the guy we saw from mid-August on last season, but he has still pitched really well. What do you make of this Red Sox-Jays game?
And being able to get plus 130 to plus 135 on Bowden Francis, I think is great value. Garrett Crochet has certainly been dealing this season, and for Francis, I expected a little bit of regression for him, because if you look at what he had done post All-Star break last season in comparison to the ERA versus fielding independent, he was doing for a little bit of regression, as he does give up the deep ball a little bit, but this is a Boston Red Sox lineup that has been a little bit rough towards the bottom. You've got guys like Tristan Costas' company that have not really given you a nice season, and for the Blue Jays, I do believe that the power is going to be coming eventually. Flagger Jr. continues to get on base, but just hasn't supplied the deep ball. Anthony Santander had a rough start to the season. He's starting around into form, and if you get an even up performance from Bowden Francis and Garrett Crochet, I have a little bit more faith in this Blue Jays bullpen personally, because when you've got Aroldis Chapman as your closer, when you've got Greg Weissert as one of your main setup men, that is not something that I really want to rely upon. And for the Blue Jays, the guys like Yimi Garcia and company have actually been pretty solid in that bullpen. So getting this big of a plus number, I'm in on the Blue Jays on the money line.
Greg, how about I'm going to go back-to-back games here that are lefty on lefty, starting with my Mets, 12-1 at home, laying 50 cents. It's not an appetizing price, but there are ways you can work around that, maybe to not bat in the bottom of the ninth or different ways, especially against an Arizona team with a pretty banged-up bullpen. But Erod, David Peterson, what are you looking at here, Mets D-backs?
I do like that total under. With David Peterson, he's been able to do a nice job of keeping the ball in the yard. And last year, his strikeout numbers were down, but he had his most effective year ever. Well, he's been able to keep the walks relatively down this year. He's been able to do a good job of mitigating that hard contact that really eluded him in the first few seasons. And on top of that, Eduardo Rodriguez on the flip side, while his ERA is 4.40, fielding dependent is more around 2.93. He's been able to do a nice job of getting north of 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. He's really not giving up overly much hard contact. I do think that he's going to round in form. To your point, the Diamondbacks bullpen not having A.J. Puck out there is a little bit rough, but you still have a few guys like Shelby Miller, Justin Martinez. If you get 6 solid there, you should be fine. And I don't think that the Mets are going to score 19 again. That, I think, is a little bit far-fetched. And if I had to play this right now, I would be looking at the Diamondbacks on the money line, merely because I do like the way that this lineup is hitting. Now, you can obviously get 4 home runs from Eugenio Suarez and still lose the game, because we saw that happen over the weekend. But that said, being able to get that plus money, I like Eduardo Rodriguez. I think that he lends a good start, and I'd like that under.
All right. By the way, plus money, Mets to not bat bottom of the ninth. Well, there's a plus sign there, but it's even money. So if you think that the Mets can win this one without a walk-off, you're shaving 50 cents off of the regular money line price right there. Let's go to PNC. Two terrific lefties, NL Central matchup. Shota Imanaga, the Cubs, Andrew Heaney. I have loved backing this guy so far this season. His K numbers have been sensational. Went over 5.5 his last time out. He had 6 in 2 innings. Finished with 9 against the Angels. Cubs lineup, a little better than the Angels. Greg, what do you like here?
And right now, where you're sitting at Circa, I'm seeing a plus 132. That's essentially my minimum buy point here. I'm willing to buy in, and I'm also seeing a total of 8.5. Let's call it what it is. The Pittsburgh Pirates, other than O'Neill Cruz, these guys are not hitting to save their lives. And Andrew Heaney, sub-2 ERA, and it's not a fluke because his fielding dependent is a sub-230. He's really not giving out the walks like he has in the beginning part of his career, and what always killed him when he was with the Angels for all those years, he would give up home run after home run. He's now in PNC, where it's a little bit more of a pitcher's ballpark out there. Now, the Cubs, to your point, they've been really good with their lineup. Even guys like Miguel Amaya, Pete Armstrong at the bottom of the lineup, they're really supplying. And Kyle Tucker, talk about a good addition. He has been amazing for this team, but I do think that Andrew Heaney gives you a good start. Imanaga's giving up a little bit more contact than he did a season ago, but he keeps the walks down. He's going against a rough Pittsburgh lineup. So I look at this spot, getting that big of a plus number. I'm in on the Pirates, and I'm in on another under.
Greg, would you rather go under 8.5 on the full game or under 4.5 first 5 before we let you go?
I will go full game just because with the Pittsburgh Pirates, I just don't think that they're even going to be able to hit a Cubs bullpen that I think is doing for a little bit of positivity moving forward. All
right. Greg Peterson, as always, man, appreciate the time. Thanks for breaking down this Tuesday slate and your favorite walk-up music with us. Really appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. Hopefully we can keep the love going with some winners on Tuesday.
Absolutely. Follow him on Twitter at @GUnit_81. VSiN's MLB expert, Greg Peterson, with us here on Cashing Out on the Progressive Guest Line. Folks, do you want to bet smarter, not louder? If so, you need to check out the Sharp Plays at sharpplays.com, where real bettors go to get ahead. Most of the betting world's just noise, chasing steam, copying picks, recycling the same old quote-unquote value plays. They're not sharp, they're parrots. The Sharp Plays is the source that they're echoing. Since 2011, it's been locked in with what the real pros are playing. Elite groups, sharp money, the kind that actually move the market. When the Sharp Plays jumps on a side, the line reacts every single time. With insider info and powerful AI tools, you're not guessing, you're getting ahead. Sign up for free. Betting reports, real-time alerts, and next-level intel via email or Twitter. And don't take anyone's word for it. Check the receipts. Full betting logs live on the site. So why follow the crowd when you can lead it? Go to sharpplays.com. Respected, watched, and feared. That's the Sharp Plays. Wow, what a segment. Who pinned me singing the outfield? Who had that on their bingo card coming into this episode? That's why you watch Cashing Out. When you got a late night show, wild things happen. We are the most unpredictable show here at VSiN, and I wear that like a badge of honor. Up next, going to break down the NFL draft, winners, losers, some potential fantasy value with Andrew Cooper from Fantasy Alarm. You don't want to miss it. It's Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, taking you through the late hours of your Monday night, right on into your Tuesday morning for our friends, especially over on the East Coast here on VSiN. And with the conclusion of the NFL draft, we've got a better idea of what most of these teams are going to look like now. Still some big free agents out there, some annoying free agents. Aaron Rodgers, I'm talking to you. But most of these rosters we can get a pretty good feel for right now. So let's break them down with our friend from Fantasy Alarm, lead NFL analyst over there, Andrew Cooper, joining us now on the Progressive Guest Line. Andrew, how are you, my friend? And before we dive into some of these winners you've got, I've got to ask you about one team. I don't know if you have them as a winner, a loser, or if you're Switzerland on this one, but the Cleveland Browns, what do you make of that entire weekend that they had?
Yeah, man. Fireworks, right? They definitely watched draft day before this weekend because they were making moves. I mean, again, it all boils down to whether you like the trade out or not. I personally love Travis Hunter. I think he's a unicorn. I think he's generational. I would have just wanted the player.
Yeah.
But you know what? They were able to scoop up. And here's actually the other problem I have is that, and I know every player is different and it doesn't always translate this way, but the hit rate on third round QBs and especially later, but the third round is brutal. It's brutally bad. if you look at all the quarterbacks drafted over the last 30 years in the third round, Russell Wilson's the best one. You know who the second best one is in terms of fantasy points?
I was going to say Russ. That was the one that came to mind, but I can't think of anything else. No.
There's a reason why. Matt Schaub is number 2, and the list only gets worse from then. I mean, it's just it's notoriously been a dead zone. So like Dylan Gabriel, if he's even serviceable, he'll easily be a top 3 quarterback. I mean, like guys like McCown. McCown is 4 on the list, right? It's just there's no hits in that range. And when you really start going through and picking the late round hits out, like Tom Brady is responsible for like 40% of the QB1 seasons from rounds like 4, 5, and 6. So in general, you really don't want to try and find a starting quarterback there. So I personally didn't love it. The grades seem to all be either A or F, right?
Yeah. That's wild. Yeah. You know what's even crazier? And, people were told, how sick would it be if Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders ended up teammates in the NFL? And if Cleveland held the number 2 pick, it could have happened. I thought there was no shot it could have happened because I, thought Shedeur was a first-round quarterback. But these two could have been teammates at the next level. Any thoughts on who takes that first snap? We just ran the graphic up on the screen. Week 1, Kenny Pickett, currently the favorite. I like Joe Flacco at 3-1 in that market. I think he'll be their Week 1 quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah, and this is the problem that I run into, not just for betting these, but I'm not touching any of the lines for over-under win totals on this team because they have Flacco in their back pocket. And that guy can win games, you know what I mean? Like, not necessarily even win games. He can prevent you from losing games. It's kind of the way he plays. He plays a super high pace game that we love for fantasy football. So with these teams, same with a team like the Giants, like you don't want to bet the under on a team that can just swap in these other quarterbacks. So I think that Flacco is going to be the guy. I'm with you. I think that's good value at plus 300. And honestly, I think that when all is said and done, and this is why I can't grade this draft well, I think next year the starting quarterback for this team is going to be Deshaun Watson. I truly believe that's the case.
Wow.
In 2026, not 2025. I think that they're basically doing what they're doing right now so that they can turn around and say, hey, you know what? None of these guys worked. We're going to give this guy one last shot because they're giving him so much money, and he's guaranteed to be on the team next year based on his contract and his no trade clause. So I really think that those 4 guys are going to end up not being a big impact, and he's going to be the starter, whether we like it or not.
Interesting. And if that's the case, then they wasted 2 picks on quarterbacks where they could have made the rest of the team around him better, especially that 3rd round. I wouldn't call taking Shedeur in the 5th round because that's a flyer. I wouldn't call that a waste, but I thought the Gabriel pick was an absolute waste. Let's get to a team that you love what they did. They shocked a lot of people. Not that they went tight end, but with the tight end that they selected, the Chicago Bears. What's your thought on their draft and their outlook for the season to come?
Yeah, the Bears ended up looking, because certain teams that made certain plays in the offseason, if you went out and got offensive line or defensive line this offseason, you look smart, especially defensive tackle, because those guys just went off the board, right? This team went out and grabbed a bunch of offensive linemen in free agency, like Joe Thuney and Drew Dalmar and these guys. So they took care of that part up front. And I still like the guy from BC that got, but that gave him the license to go for weapons. And that's what Ben Johnson's trying to do. He wants to recreate his type of offense there. They didn't get a running back. Kyle Managai is a good sleeper from Rutgers, kind of reminds me of Isaiah Pacheco, but they could still add like Nick Chubb and do that 2-back system. So, I mean, I really like the picks. And again, Luther Burden, if you want to go high risk, high reward, and I know teams don't let character guys slide if they believe in the talent, but the rumor is that he slid due to character, not talent. And if they think that they can turn him into their version of Amon-Ra St. Brown with a lot of underneath stuff and kind of scheme him up, manufactured touches, I mean, this team could be dangerous right away. I do like Caleb Williams. I think last year he might have been throwing the ball a little too hard, but it's easier to teach a guy how to put a little touch on it than try and give him a bigger arm, because that's not possible.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you, by going for weapons, because you mentioned, the O-lineman they added in free agency, also the trade for Jackson to really fortify the guys up front. Now with these weapons, Loveland and Burden really has the benefit of having a deep receiver room around him, so he's not going to have sky-high expectations coming in here like maybe O'Dunes felt in his rookie season a season ago. But with all these weapons now for Caleb, what's your outlook on him from a fantasy perspective coming into the year? Is this a guy that you're chomping at the bit to get?
I think that right now is the best time because, again, there's only so many props out there. We can take a look at those. if anyone out there wants to create leverage on these rookies right now, it's through best ball. Best ball drafts where you can go in and draft a bunch of teams on sites like Underdog or whoever else. Again, I don't want to throw any sponsors out here or whatever, but just any of those pages that have, any of these sites that have best ball, you can go and draft teams. You don't have to set the lineups. There's no trades. There's nothing. You can get a bunch of access. Myself, a bunch of other people that put teams through in May last year ended up in the last round of contests where you can win millions of dollars. You know what I mean? Where the floor is $6,000 if you make it to that last round. And my teams in May did best because what I did is I sat here and said, which quarterbacks got the weapons? Which rookies got the opportunity? So you're not necessarily betting on talent as much. In your dynasty leagues, bet on talent. In leagues like this, bet on opportunity. So you want guys like RJ Harvey. I don't care that he's 24 years old in a league that's only a 1-year league, right? And you go and draft him to be the guy playing with Joe Lombardi. Joe Lombardi's running back rooms for the 18 years he's been an offensive coach. All 18 years they've been top 5 in running back targets. All 18, Joe. So whatever the running back is going to be that starts for that team, that's a value. Bashal Tootin could start. Guys like Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Pat Bryant, any of these guys that have the opportunity. I mean, even though I don't rank him as my tight end 1 or even one of my top 3 or 4, Mason Taylor could be the starting tight end for the Jets, right? Guys like Elijah Royal, look for that opportunity. Get some shares of these guys early before people are figuring out what's happening, before they realize, wait a second, who's the second best pass catcher on the Jets besides Garrett Wilson? Maybe it is Mason Taylor.
So, look, Andrew, I see all that Boston stuff behind you on the wall there, and I got to ask you about the Patriots. When they hired Vrabel, I said that they would be a playoff team, not this year, but in 2026. And I still believe this is a rebuilding year for them. But I think they might be better this year than I anticipated. What are your thoughts on their draft and their outlook moving forward?
Joe, that's why they pay you the big bucks, buddy. I think you got it exactly right that this year they did a good job with the draft, taking best available, right? Like a guy like Will Campbell, he could be the ceiling. Of course, people say it could be Zach Martin, the guy that never played guard but ends up playing guard. I kind of liken it to when the Jets took Elijah Vera Tucker. You just take the best possible guys with the opportunity you have, and you're still building towards the future. So I'm not going to go out and bet the over on the win total, but I think you got a better team than you had last year, and you picked very safe players. I mean, taking a tackle that could end up at guard, safe. Taking arguably the best pass blocking running back in this class, that at worst it could end up like a James White type, at best could end up being, like one of the Ecklers and Kamars of the world catching a million passes. Very safe. Kyle Williams, another guy they went out and said, let's just draft guys that are going to be part of this team, and then we'll save the high risk, high reward, hired gun type players for free agency and the drafts of the future. And I think that's what they did here, which is good if you're a fan, but if you're a gambler, I don't think you got a lot of action to be made on this team right now, especially if it's at an 8.5.
Yeah. If I was saying if I could get 7.5, I'd look to the over, but 8.5 is just a tricky number. I don't know if they can get there.
Tricky. Right. It's a little too much for me, a little too rich, because there's other teams at 8.5 that I do like. I mean, I'll give you one right now. Seattle Seahawks. I love Clint Kubiak's scheme. They use a lot of 2 wide receiver sets, and they use the fullback, which we've seen teams like the 49ers, the teams like the Seahawks have a lot of success with that. They actually went and got this guy from Alabama. His name is Oots, right? And he is going to be a bruiser as a fullback. And they've already told him, Robbie Oots, they already converted him from tight end to fullback.
Interesting.
That's gonna really free up that run game. And they didn't even necessarily need to get more linemen because you have Rick Dennison, you have Kubiak, but they used their first pick on Greg Zabel. I really like what they did, quietly like what they did, and I love that over 8.5.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are selling on them because they let some key components go, but this team might quietly be a good one. Coop, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us, man.
Of course. Thank you for having me. Good luck out there.
Andrew Cooper, lead NFL analyst over at Fantasy Alarm, joining us on the Progressive Guest Line. More picks, more winners, more cashing out with Joe Ceraulo up next.
Welcome back to Cashing Out here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Cashing Out continues with me, Joe Ceraulo, getting you ready for your Tuesday. We've got 4 NBA playoff games, and we've got 15 Major League Baseball games on the diamond. That's a lot of actionable spots for me. We've also got Stanley Cup playoffs, not as actionable for me. I've made one bet in the Stanley Cup playoffs this postseason. I'm 1-0. I'm content being 1-0 so far. You folks know me. I like to bet what I know. I know Stanley Cup playoffs are a big time, and yes, there will be more hockey bets to come because it's the playoffs. But when I've got actionable spots for sports that I'm more comfortable playing, that's what I'm going to do. So 15 baseball games, 4 NBA playoff games. That equates to 7 bets that I've got. So let's dive in. It's time for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. And remember, folks, our best bets here are brought to you by our friends at GBank, the official bank of VSiN. GBank's up in the ante with up to a $750 bonus for new GBank Visa Signature Card customers. First, new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days of the account opening receive a $250 bonus. Additionally, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of your account opening, you'll receive another $500 bonus. That's potentially a $750 bonus. So apply now, VSiN.com/GBank, subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. All that good stuff. Let's get into the VSiN Daily Morning Bets best bets. Starting in the NBA. I've already mentioned this one earlier in cashing out. Clippers, -1.5. I love this spot for LA on the road, coming off a heartbreaking loss. Now, that was a game where Denver was seemingly in control early in the fourth quarter, right? I'm at the bar watching that. I pull out my phone thinking about live betting it, and I wish I pulled the trigger. It was silly of me not to. LA was +11.5. Next thing you know, it's 99-99 as the buzzer-beating shot goes up. Jokic admitted it wasn't a pass, it was a shot. Gordon gets the errant offensive board, which might have not gone down as such, might have gone down as an assist, and dunks it through. I don't think it counted. That doesn't matter. I think the Clippers are pissed and poised for a revenge spot. And specifically, Kawhi Leonard, I think, is ready for a big spot coming off that loss. Kawhi was good. He wasn't sensational in either home game. He was good in that tight Game 1 loss. And then Game 2, he came out and he was sensational. Kawhi, after a loss, is a weapon unleashed that I would not want to go up against if I were Denver. So I'm going back to Kawhi after a loss. I'm not only playing the Clippers -1.5, I'm taking Kawhi over 32.5 points and rebounds. Now look, there's a chance that we get playoff Kawhi in this one, and he can go for 30 points and 6 boards. I mean, shoot, he had 39 points Game 2. That cleared this mark single-handedly, right? He only had 3 rebounds that game. But last 2 games, he's gone over his respective mark with 21 points and 11 boards, and then 24 points and 9 boards. So if the scoring's not there, I feel like the rebounding will be. I like this number a lot, 32.5 -115. I think with Kawhi, we're going to get about 28 or more. So I think, frankly, you could take over on his 25.5 points number. After a loss, I think you're going to get an unleashed beast. But play it safe. If it's not his best scoring night, he's gone 9+ boards back-to-back games. So I'm going to go over 32.5 points and rebounds, knowing last time LA lost a game this series, Kawhi responded by going over this mark in points alone. So those are my 2 bets, NBA playoffs. Clippers -1.5, Kawhi over 32.5 points boards combo. I've got 5 on the diamond. Let's dive in. Starting with the Reds' first 5 money line. This is the most juice I'm laying on Tuesday. 35 cents here. I love this pitching matchup. Brady Singer going for the Reds. Got touched up a little bit his last time out, but he's 4-0 with a 3.6. He's been pitching really well to start the year. Miles Mikolas for the Cardinals, on the other hand, 0-2. ERA's up near 6. The Cardinals on the road have been dreadful. 2-12, among the worst teams in the league away from home this year. And the Reds offense finally clicking. They're hot. They're up to 3 games over 500 after winning the first game in this series. So you got the pitching advantage, you're hot, and Miles Mikolas against current Reds hitters. They've got 77 at-bats against him, 23 hits. It's a .299 average. They've got a slugging percentage right around .560 with 11 extra base hits out of those 23. So half of their hits have gone for extra bases. And a collective OPS over 880. They hit Mikolas. They hit him hard, as a lot of teams, a lot of players have tended to in recent years. Big pitching edge, lineup that's heating up. better coaching. Give me the Reds first 5. I'll lay the 35 cents on that one as opposed to risking it with their bullpen just to save 5 cents on the full game price there. Sticking in the NL Central with another all NL Central matchup, I'm going another first 5 play. It's under 4.5 runs. It's minus 10 cents over Boyd and FanDuel. Cubs Pirates under 4.5 in the first 5. I love this pitching matchup. 2 really tough lefties, right? You look at some of the best bats in that Cubs lineup. Obviously, Kyle Tucker leading the crew. Left-handed bats. Andrew Heaney has been a force this year for Pittsburgh. Heaney's been absolutely sensational. Not only is his ERA sub 2, his FIP is sub 2. Last time out, and I know it was the Angels. I know the Angels stink. But last time out, we took Heaney, 6+ strikeouts at plus money. He got there in 2 innings. He finished with 9. I'm not going for a strikeout play in this one, but I think Heaney will hold the Cubs bats at bay. I don't trust the Pittsburgh bullpen, so I won't go under 8.5 on the full game. And then Imanaga on the other end for the Cubbies against current Pirates hitters, 30 at-bats. They're 5 for 30, no extra base hits, only 2 walks. It's a 167 average, a 219 OBP, a 167 slugging percentage. So Imanaga, fantastic pitcher. Heaney having a fantastic month to start the year. Give me under 4.5 runs, first 5 minus 10 cents in Pittsburgh. 3 more to go. How about Mackenzie Gore over 17.5 outs for the Nationals? Now, we got burned with J.P. Sears on Monday taking this, but Gore only laying 15 cents here to go over 17 and a hook. He's done this in 4 straight starts and 5 of 6 this year, including opening day against the Phillies when he K'd 13 Phillies hitters. Now, I was looking at, and I'm still considering over 6.5 strikeouts, which is minus 130 at FanDuel and Boyd, but ultimately I opted to go for the play with the better price here with Gore laying 15 cents, 17.5 outs. He's been dominant. 7+ Ks, 5 out of 6 starts, 6 innings. Again, 4 straight, 5 out of 6. He's been really consistent this year. 4 quality starts in 6 total starts. Gore is just becoming a reliable lefty. You know, I say dominant. He's given up some runs here and there, but Philly's lineup is lefty heavy, and really, I'm not impressed with the direction that they're trending in. I've got concerns about them. I think Gore will get through 6 at Citizens Bank over 17.5. Couple of no-bat bottom 9 plays here. Mets, no-bat bottom 9. It's even money as opposed to 50 cents on the money line. You're saving $0.50 here, and David Peterson's on the bump. They're back at home, where they are 12-1 in the early goings of the season, coming off of an outrageous 19-run outburst against Washington and D.C. on Monday to salvage the series. I like the way the Mets are answering adversity. They haven't faced a whole lot of it this year, but a couple injuries, the Diaz situation, A.J. Minter now down 2-1 in that series when they should have been up 2-1, and how do they answer? 19 runs. So give me the Mets to not bat bottom of the 9th against Eduardo Rodriguez and the D-backs. Even money. At home. Arizona's been inconsistent lately. They've been struggling a bit lately. Lost at home to the Rays, lost a few at home to the Braves, who have been dreadful on the road. So I think the Mets catch Arizona at an opportune time with a banged-up bullpen and a pretty lefty-heavy lineup with David Peterson on the bump to oppose that. The other team I'm going to not bat in the bottom of the 9th, the Seattle Mariners. Minus 120. They're minus 175 on the money line. So you're saving even more than you're saving on the Mets price here. You're saving 55 cents here. Bryce Miller, rocky start to the season for him, but he's got wicked career home and away splits. He's phenomenal at T-Mobile. Kachanowicz on the bump for the Angels. Small sample size, but current Mariners hitters are 6 for 8 off of him. He's been getting teed off against in the early goings of this season. I don't really see much promise or much potential there with his arm. He profiles as a bullpen arm to me. So I'm going Miller against Kachanowicz. Big pitching matchup. The Mariners bats, who would have thunk it? All of a sudden, they're clicking, they're hitting, they're at home where they've been really good to start the year. Give me Seattle to not bat in the bottom of the 9th. They're 10-6 at home. Minus 120 against the Angels, who have now lost 10 out of 13. And that'll do it for the VSiN Daily Morning Bets. That'll also do it for another great edition of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. But folks, the great content here at VSiN never ends. How about VSiN by the books? Dave Ross, Jensen Lewis, 7 a.m. Eastern. That's appointment television. Then a numbers game with Gil Alexander at 10 a.m. Eastern, followed by the newly revamped Money Moves, Stormy Bonatoni and our own Jonathan Von Tobel, JVT, every day now at noon Eastern. Special thanks to our terrific team who put this one together. Couldn't do it without them. Jared, John, Alexis, Jarens, and Evan on the other side of the glass. Special thanks to our terrific guests. That'll do it for another episode of Cashing Out with Joe Ceraulo. Let's do it again. Damani.